to know you through and through. So tell me your story, reveal to me your glory, show me the way to your heart. Show me your salvation and how to live forever, 'cause I want to be living inside your love. I want to be closer than close, deeper than deep inside your love. This is heaven. I want to be higher than high, free my soul to fly. I want to see heaven, living inside your love. Draw me close, I want to hear the rhythm of your heart. Touch my soul, promise me we'll never be apart. So share with me the mystery of this amazing love, how can it be? Show me the way to your heart. So far beyond my comprehension, this love above all measure, I wanna be living inside your love. I wanna be closer than close, deeper than deep inside your love. This is heaven. I wanna be higher than high, free my soul to fly. I wanna see heaven. I wanna be living inside your love. I love you deep, I love you high, I love you wide, I love you forever. I love you deep, I love you high, I love you wide, oh, I love you forever. I wanna be closer than close, deeper than deep inside your love. This is heaven, and I wanna be higher than high, free my soul to fly. This has gotta be heaven, and I wanna be closer than close, deeper than deep inside your love. This is heaven. I wanna be higher than high, free my soul to fly. Feels like heaven. I wanna be living inside your love. Living inside your love. Living inside your love. Woo.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. As you can see, I am not Junie.
Woo, sorry. I need my screen back. Need my screen back. Thank you.
Take my hand.
Okay.
It's so good. Michelle wanted to repeat.
Yes, I did.
Well, welcome. As you can see, I'm not Junie. I'm not your regular announcement person, but my name is Millie. I am one of the elders here, MMH Hangout. So wanted to welcome you today to MMH Hangout. As you know, we always do, we shout out our cities. So go ahead and shout your city in the chat. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. So, all right. So I see Hawaii. Man, Rhonda, let's switch places. I see London. I see Maryland, New Jersey, Kent, UK, Gardena, LA, England, Lagos, where else? Ohio, Milton Keynes, Kenneth, England. Am I saying that right? New York. All right. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Georgia. All right. So we got people from a little bit of everywhere. Dallas, Texas. Texas is always in the house. Well, welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in from all over the world. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. I wanted to say that this is a safe place. You know, we always say it's a safe place for connection, for inspiration, empowerment. Everybody here is a member of the same tribe, and, you know, we look to honor and respect each other. So basically, what does that mean? That means, another word, mind your manners. Don't talk about folk business in the room. This is like Vegas. What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. So what goes on in MMH Hangout stays in MMH Hangout. All right. So we want to just make sure that we're respectful of each other. And then want to let you know that basically here at MMH Hangout, our goal always is really to inspire. Michelle does an incredible job of bringing you incredibly inspiring, knowledgeable hosts. And so today, our special guest is Danae Murray. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And she's the founder of Black Marriage Movement. And she's a certified marriage and relationship counselor. So what does that mean? That means she's legit, y'all. She's for real. She's not an Instagram counselor. She's studied her things and is for real, okay? So we're looking forward to learning a lot about one of our favorite subjects, which is relationships. We talked a lot about relationships here on MMH Hangout. But first, we got a few church announcements as well as some housekeeping tips to make sure that we all act right. Want you to go ahead and visit Michelle's website at michellehammond.com. You can view all of the things offered, and there's a lot of stuff on there, you know, from books to links to how you can either come, you know, book her to speak at your church or event. So much information on there. So make sure, again, you check out michellehammond.com. Last but not least, you know, you guys get newsletters in your email, right? And Michelle always promises that she's going to send you the notes from the previous hangout. But a lot of you guys don't open up those newsletters. You know, we see when you don't open up newsletters. So go ahead and open up those newsletters. There's tons of information in there. You just don't want to miss out. So make sure you open up those newsletters when you get it. All right. Coming up soon, this is really great. Just in case, you know, you've been living underneath the rock, you know, Michelle has written over 40 plus books, right? Best-selling author. So she's going to be having a writer's course for those who are ready to become best-selling authors themselves. Registration is going to be open soon, and it's going to be called Write to Be Heard. And so it's going to be an incredible way to really get up close and personal with someone who's had such an amazing experience and is so knowledgeable around this topic. So, you know, if you feel like you've gotten that writer bug in you, go ahead and sign up for this masterclass. It's going to be beginning in September. And then also we're going to have a book club that we've actually had. So it's going to be coming back in October. So lots of good stuff coming up, lots of good stuff to get, you know, to get involved with. Okay. Last thing, housekeeping. So we have an official note taker on MMH Hangout. We have two actually. So today, our elder Ophi is going to be taking notes. So what does that mean? It means you can focus on what's being taught and not have to focus on taking notes yourself, you could really look and see that knowledgeable notes are going to be taken. You'll get those notes again in those newsletters afterwards. So please do us a favor. Like, we know that you guys have a lot of knowledge and you want to share a lot of great things. We know that, y'all are smart, y'all are important, like y'all are kind, and you want to share all the things, but refrain from doing that so we can just focus on what's being shared by Ophi today. Okay, so she'll be taking the official notes for MMH Hangout today. All right, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the hostess with the mostest. Michelle, take it away. You're muted.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're happy to have you back in this space. I know we usually meet on the 1st of the month, but I knew it was the 4th of July and everybody was into barbecue, and I did not want to interrupt your travel and party plans. So here we are today. Thank you for logging on. Welcome to the Facebook and YouTube community as well. Those who are not in the room, but in the room. We know that you're here. We feel you. We feel the love. And I'm so excited about my guest, Denai, today. But first of all, I am going to release you into your rooms to meet one another. We like to do this here because we want you to meet others from around the world, make friends, share. You're going to share who you are, where you're from, and what your expectations are for the room today. So I'm going to release you, but I'm going to ask someone to pray first. Let me see. I'm seeing Angelica looking very beautiful. Angelica, could you pray for us? And then we'll have a moment meditation of music so that you can just write a note to the Lord. Lord, this is what I came here to get today. And then we're going to release you into your networking room where you'll have 5 minutes to say hello, who you are, where you're from, what you expect to get out of the room, and then we'll come back and we'll begin. Is that okay? All right, Angelica, take it away. Unmute yourself. Okay, let me see if I can unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, awesome. Father, we come before you just to say thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us all together. Father, I pray that the knowledge and information that we hear today, that we apply it to our lives with fidelity. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So I'll give you a moment meditation. This is a time to quiet your spirit, release everything else that's clamoring for your attention in your mind, your heart, your spirit. Just have a spirit of expectation that God's going to answer something, answer a question today. See you in a few minutes. longer. More of you and longer. I will worship you. I will worship you with all of my strength. You are mine. All right, Facebook and YouTube, I know you're out there. Thank you for joining in. I'm really excited about our session today. There's a lot going on in relationships right now. We're struggling. I think the pandemic has added a lot of complication to how we communicate, how we interact, even what our expectations are in relationships now. And so today, I just felt really an urgent need to get Danae in on this because she's amazing when it comes to relationships. She talks the truth, no holds barred, tells it like it is, unapologetically and uncompromisingly. And I love her for that. You know, now is not the time to sugarcoat stuff and beat around the bush and dance on the fringes of the truth. It's the truth that sets us free. And, you know, right now, I'm a little concerned about us because I feel like we're compromising in a lot of areas that we shouldn't be compromising in and ending up severely disappointed. So it's really time to get back to the basics of what a relationship supposed to look like. What did God imagine that they should look like? And how do we, who are seeking to be Christ followers and godly people, stay on point when the world is whizzing past us in the opposite direction? Where do we find the balance without seeming, you know, self-righteous and condescending and critical, to just maintain who we are as men and women of God in a way where we do relationships the way they were designed to be done and reap the benefits of that? Because when we do things according to God's plan, guess what? There are benefits. Some people say, well, what's the benefits to me doing this? And, you know, David talked about the benefits. He said, bless the Lord at all times and forget not his benefits. There are benefits to doing things God's way. Just like an athlete that trains, you might not want to do what they're doing. It seems like they're sacrificing a lot while you're partying, they're practicing. You know, there are things that they give up to win the race. And we are in a race. And there are things that we have to give up to win the race. There are disciplines that we've got to put in place to win the race. There's even a diet that we're supposed to be on to win the race. And so when we look at life through that lens of what do we ultimately want to get out of life? What do I need to get there? And what's my part? God's not sitting up in heaven waving magic wands to make life happen for you. He's giving you the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding. He says, with all you're getting, get an understanding. He tells you to embrace wisdom like a sister. He says, if you do that, you'll end up with riches and honor and long life, and things will go well for you. So there actually are some keys that God gives us to employ ourselves so that we live our best life. Ultimately, Jeremiah 29:11 in the Message version says, I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a desired end. Another translation says, to give you the future that you hope for. And when we do things God's way, guess what? We tap into the future that we've hoped for. When we walk in alignment, otherwise we bruise, we fall, we bruise our knees, and we get heartache that we don't need to have. There are consequences. God's forgiveness is always there when we make a mistake, but we're stuck sometimes with the consequences of our actions. And so God wants to save us from that needless suffering, okay, and get us back into the center of his will, where we're able to experience love, the best quality of love that there is. Because guess what? God is a romantic. He created the love relationship. He knows how it should go, and he wants it to be a wonderful experience. Okay, because why does he want it to be a wonderful experience? Because it's a foreshadow of our ultimate love experience with him. Okay, so today we're talking about the State of the Union. I just have a few comments to make and something to just push your buttons before Denai comes on. You know, we're talking about the State of the Union, and Ephesians 5:31 tells us, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave or be united to his wife, and the two will become one. Another translation says one flesh. But the ultimate thing is that we go back to the design that was there from the beginning when God created male, created him male and female. He created them. Woman was inside of man. They started off as one. There was a disconnect, and God designed it for us to come back to be one again. Statistics are very interesting. Denai might even have some updated ones, but I was just looking at what is the average age of marriage for females right now. Where are we? People are getting married later and later in life. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. There's one school of thought about us growing together at a young age, coming together when we don't have much of nothing and building life together. Those are the ones that seem to be the most solid and really hang together. And then there's the middle. I think there are 3 entry points. There's the other extreme where we get married later in life and people make much more mature choices because they know what they want. They know what they don't want. They know who they are. They're settled into who they are. Take it or leave it. Here I am, baby. And so you get some good marriages on that end. And then there's that middle part where people are just succumbing to pressure or to feelings, emotions, flesh, a myriad of different things, but not having a real concept of love, covenant, and what their relationship is really supposed to go like, because we're watching TV, we're seeing things on media that aren't real. And I don't know if you know anything about psychology, but the brain can't separate fact from fiction. So it sees everything as reality. So when we watch movies and things like that, we say it's only a movie, but your brain doesn't think it's just a movie. It's actually receiving that as truth, okay? Which makes it hard to separate. So then we think, oh, you know, we're gonna, boy meets girl, they clash, they get back together and everybody lives happily ever after. That doesn't always happen. That's not reality. But in 2021, the average age of marriage for females was 33, while male respondents married at about age 35. And it might be even later in life than that now. We had a couple of breakdown years with COVID, where some people who had been together found out they really didn't like each other and they separated. And then there were other people who found each other in COVID and got together, and it was a real love connection. So it's really at a very interesting place right now. And it's increasingly getting later, because in 1995, men got married by 26 to 28, and women were getting married from 23 to 26. So we see this whole marriage crunch based on a study by Harvard and Yale researchers projecting that college-educated women had a 20% chance of getting married if they were still single at 30, a 5% chance at age 35, and just 2.6% at 40. So I guess I won't even ask about 60. I think I'm now in the widowers category, where I hear they make the best husbands anyway. They've been trained already. But you know that in Christ, we always have hope, and that we are not bound by statistics, right? So don't get defeated by those numbers. You know, depending on your age, the choices have narrowed. There are a lot of people who are already married. There are men who are incarcerated. Somebody said once, one prophet at a service years ago said, your husband might be in jail. It was like, oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul. Well, we know of a lot of women who actually do go to jail and find husbands, and they're happy with that arrangement because they know where to find them. They're not going anywhere, I guess, you know. But so women do a lot of interesting things in the name of love to couple up and make sure that they have somebody, because there's an instinct in us to be one with someone. Okay. And then we've got the whole spectrum of people who just have another sexual preference. They're not interested in you. So for reasons that are not about you, it's about them. So there are lots of different reasons. And we know also that there are different types of relationships. There are familial relationships. We're not always just talking about the romantic. We're talking about the platonic. We're talking about the professional. We're talking about the familial. You know, how do we navigate those relationships in a way that feeds us life, feeds them life, and we're blessed by the relationship versus remaining in a toxic relationship that is sucking the life out of you and where you're dying by degrees. That's not the life that God has designed for you. Relationships are supposed to bring life. Everything that God created was seed bearing and produced after itself. It produced life. And so even when it comes to relationships, God wants us to produce life through our relationships. So how do two people become one? They become one by first understanding the purpose of a relationship. They become one because they have a healthy understanding of what love looks like. It's amazing to me how most people don't have a clear understanding of what love is. I was on a panel one year and we had talked about love for 2 hours. And then someone in the audience got up and said, I have a question. What is love? And the room just went dead silent. Even the experts, no one had the answer to what love is. And yet God gives us clearly defined characteristics of love. And all those characteristics ultimately make up his very character. I mean, God is love. He is patient. He is kind. He is long suffering. He doesn't keep records of wrong. He's not boastful. He's not easily irritated. The list is there in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. He talks about what love does and what love does not do. So we've got to have a clear and healthy understanding of what love looks like, because a lot of times we accept treatment that does not look like love in God's eyes. How do people become one? By understanding covenant and what that means. And ultimately, by being submitted to Christ. We can't do love properly if we are in our flesh and in ourselves and smelling ourselves. That's called narcissism, and it's on the rise. It says that in the last days, people will become lovers of themselves. And it includes that narcissistic quality that we see in a lot of relationships. And then being willing to give of yourself 100%. Love is giving of yourself 100, not 50, not 70, 30. It is about having a heart to serve your companion, having a heart to serve and be life for them and them for you. So I just want to push your buttons on those thought processes. And I have 3 questions that I want you to think about and answer as you go back into your rooms to share for a few minutes. You're going to have 7 minutes to share and exchange on these things. I'm going to put the questions in the chat now so that you will have them. Okay. I want you to review your past or your present relationship and what has been the recurring issue. I want you to be very honest with yourself. What has been the recurring issue in your relationships? What has contributed to where you are in your relationship now? What changes need to be made in your mindset to have a more favorable outcome? Once again, I want you to consider your relationships. We're talking about becoming one. What's stopping you from becoming one or having issues with becoming one? What has been the recurring issue as you think about your past relationships? Are those things popping up in the relationship you're in now, if you're in one? And what has contributed to where you are in your relationship now? What changes need to be made in your mindset? Remember, attitude is everything. As we think in our hearts, so are we. So what in my mind is holding up the process of me being able to release myself to be one with someone, or even one with myself, if you're a single person, being at peace even in that, all right? On that note, we're going to release you back to your rooms. You're going to have 7 minutes to share with someone, and then we'll be back to hear from Denai. Think about it for a minute as you go so that you're ready to discuss. And please be actively involved in your rooms. That's how we have breakthroughs, when people are open and honest and transparent. Remember, what happens in the room stays in the room. Okay, so as they go to their rooms, you people on Facebook and YouTube, I'm asking you the same question. Feel free to put it in the chat and have an exchange online with those who are watching. There's usually a great note taker on Facebook as well as YouTube, so hopefully you're taking notes where you are for those who are watching. I had a mentor tell me at one point in my relationships where I was talking about my inability to have that close the deal, close the deal on the relationship, She said something to me very, very interesting. She said, I've been watching you in your relationship for a while, Michelle, and I've got to say that you don't give men a chance to land. They hover, they're flying around, but you don't give them the opportunity to land. And sometimes we don't even know subconsciously that we're creating fear in those that really want to be part of us. Perhaps they don't feel needed. We're not being open and vulnerable about our feelings. We're not willing to share where we really are and be authentic. And the other person doesn't know what's wrong, but they feel it. And it creates a space there that they're not able to fill. So examine your hearts, examine your level of willingness to be authentic and vulnerable in your relationships. It has a lot to do. Men need to feel needed, and women need to feel loved. And so on both ends of the spectrum, we need to work on how we interact, what we're willing to lay down, the mask that we're willing to remove to be our true and authentic selves in relationships. Yeah. Denai, I am so excited that you're here today. You can unmute. The Facebook people are watching, and
I'm excited to be here too. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, great. Denai and I have had some really amazing chats on IG Live. Oh my goodness. One night, we were on for 3 hours. We just kept it going, right?
Yes, we did. Lots to talk about. Lots to talk about.
Yes, and she's a dear, dear friend. And I just admire the work that she's doing, her commitment to making love work in the lives of couples and empowering single people. I feel like we're co-laborers in that,
I agree.
Just wanting.
I totally agree.
Yeah, to just be totally, at peace with where they are so that they can be authentic in their relationships. It's really important. It starts with us. And I think that a lot of times we're looking outside of ourselves to fill a gap. And the work starts with us. When we're whole, then we attract whole people and have a whole and healthy relationship. Otherwise, we just go from relationship to relationship looking for what we don't know sometimes, right, Denai? We don't even know what we're looking for sometimes. We're just looking for someone to just fill this hole inside of us. And we don't even know what the hole is because we haven't done the self-work. We haven't done the hard work on ourselves. And I think that sometimes we get a little lazy. We want others to make life happen for us, make love happen for us. But we really need to start with ourselves.
Absolutely. One of the concepts around love that makes a woman successful and that delineates between her success in love versus her being unsuccessful in love is she an I before she's a we? Is she an I before she's a we? What that means is I have to know who I am. I have to know what brings out the best in me. I have to know what I need realistically in order for me to show up as a wife, as a mother, as a fiance. And I know one of the things that I'm seeing is that we either don't know who we are and what we need, or what's even sadder than that is that we end up thinking we need way less than we do, because women in particular have been taught to lower themselves and to just be agreeable and to just be pleasing and to not think so hard about what am I going to need if I've got a 30, 40, 50-year marriage to motivate me and inspire me to show up for this man as a servant and as a lover and as a bestie and as a support and as someone who speaks life into him and is his number one cheerleader. What am I going to need realistically in order to motivate me to do that over the long haul? And, we're talking about the State of the Union today. And I'm going to be really, really honest with you. That is one of the biggest, most prevalent issues that I'm seeing right now with women, is the way that they are approaching relationships is not with that in mind. It is not, who am I and what do I need for me to do this for the long haul? I will tell you what we do have in mind. We have in mind, what do I need in order for me to get married? What do I need in order for me to jump this broom? What do I need in order to land the guy that I like? What do I need in order for me to spark his attention? It's almost like, how do I get him? But it's not, how do I keep him?
Woo,
and
that's good. Now, you're going to have to repeat that when the women come back in the room.
I thought they were in here. I didn't realize that they were.
No, they're out.
Talking to you and they weren't in here. Yes.
No, you can repeat that. Right now, we're just talking to the Facebook and YouTube people. Okay. They've gone off to answer those 3 questions that I gave them. And but I think this is such an important topic, because I think that we're not doing the reflection work that we need to do.
Girl.
It's serious. And people say, well, aren't you tired of talking about relationships? And I'm like, no, I'm not tired of talking about relationships, because it continues to be an issue.
Listen.
Nobody solves it in a day, in a year, in a month, and it keeps recycling, because I think that we are spiraling as a society.
We are
right now, and COVID didn't help. We've disconnected even more. People went into isolation. And I think when they came out, they didn't know how to act anymore. It's like, if you weren't allowed to go to a party and then somebody finally let you go to one, you don't know what to do when you get there.
You're crazy.
And so that is why I'm taking the time to really unpack this again, because it's critical. We have new issues too on the table. We're not as social as we were before COVID.
No.
A lot of people still haven't gone back to work. Or we're living in fear. And if you're in the States, some people are probably not going out because of guns right now. There's so many things that are now shutting us down in other ways that are going to raise even more barriers when it comes to our relationships. And so we've got to know what we're dealing with and how we ourselves individually are going to approach relationships moving forward.
Absolutely. And I'm with you on the COVID thing and the guns thing and the isolation thing. There are a ton of obstacles that, we were already just with social media. A lot of there's a whole generation of people who are not as adept in connection due to social media, due to texting, due to ghosting and a lot of different things. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
people don't talk anymore. And I'm
It's
like,
true.
I am not going to text with you another minute.
Absolutely not.
Pick up the
Well,
phone. I need to hear your voice because I'm imagining how your voice sounds on text. And you might not be angry, but I think you're angry, you know, and it's
listen,
causing a whole other set of problems.
no, it's absolutely true. You're not wrong. I talk a lot about texting with my clients and basically let them know, like, they're not allowed to have any pertinent discussions, any important discussions, or any fights or arguments trying to work through conflict via text, because 90% of communication is nonverbal, you know, and so you don't have access to 90% of the information you need in order for you to know, are you angry? Are you happy? Are you, irritated? Are you frustrated? Are you confused? You don't have that. And so the likelihood for miscommunications and misunderstandings is through the roof. And that's just texting. So yeah, you add, people are in isolation now. Nobody's out meeting people. People aren't going to social gatherings. Where do you even meet anybody at this point? Yeah, it's a challenge.
Exactly. So everybody, how did your room conversation go? I know you always tell me that you didn't have enough time, but I didn't release you to solve the world's issues. I just wanted to push your buttons and stir up conversation that you can continue to have with yourself after this session is over. But just put in the chat for me right quick, what happened in those sessions for you? Was it a good room? Did you get something out? Did you discover something new? Amazing. Everyone was open and honest. I love that. I love to hear that. How was your room? Did you come to any wonderful conclusion, or were your buttons just pushed where you said, I never even thought about that? That's something for my prayer time, hopefully we pushed your buttons, but now I am so excited to bring Denai up to speak. She is just a wealth of knowledge. Not only is she my friend, but someone that I really admire and cherish. And we have really great, transparent relationships, and we just talk and don't get us started because we'll never stop. I mean, it's this. And so I actually met her through another friend, and then we connected on IG, and we've been joined at the hip ever since. And she's just, like I said, just phenomenal. And I couldn't wait to share her with you. Now, everybody should say, don't I just have the best friends? I always have the best friend. You haven't even heard her yet, but just know that I have the best friends on the planet, okay? And I get to share them all with you. So Denai, welcome, welcome, welcome. And for the benefit of others, would you just tell everyone how your name is really pronounced? Because we want to pronounce it 10 different ways.
Absolutely, no worries. So yes, my name is Denai Marari, and you can think Marari like Ferrari. I was given that name by both of my parents. It's actually a beautiful and auspicious name with my purpose tied up in it, which is funny because when I was studying Hebrew names and how in scripture people's names actually said something about their character or their purpose or what it was that their mothers wanted for them, that became really beautiful for me. So my first name is Denai. That means to love each other, like go ahead and love each other. My middle name is Paidamoyo. That is what my heart really wanted. My last name is Marari, like Ferrari, and that is many with wisdom, or the ones who teach and tell the people. So if you take my entire name, it is what my heart really wanted, was for the ones with wisdom to teach and tell the people to love each other. And that's what I do. I
love it. The floor is yours. He is good. The floor is yours. Share from your heart.
Okay. Excellent. So I'm so glad you said share from your heart, because I know I feel a little like Joyce Meyer, who I adore, who's constantly saying, I'll prepare this, and then God will have me talk about that. And I think I've probably changed and added and taken away from what I wanted to share today about 100 different times. So I am just going to share from my heart. And I'm going to share with you kind of what I'm seeing today regarding relationships and men and women getting together and breaking up, and what I'm learning from my practice and from my page, just so you have some context around that. My page on Instagram is the Black Marriage Movement. And what I do on that page is I share a lot of different stories from lots of different couples who are, coupling or uncoupling. And I have a coaching practice where I talk to men and women and couples every single day. And I help people to navigate their relationships, whether they be, newbies trying to get into a relationship, if they've, if they're single women who've had a series of relationships that they want to learn and grow from, I help them to navigate that. If they are married couples, we do premarital counseling. We also do, couples who didn't do premarital or who might have gotten not the best start with their relationships. And so they're looking for how do we navigate now that we're a year or two in and we're struggling and we didn't know how to set this thing up. I help you to set things up foundationally with principles and negotiation skills and communication skills and all of that. I help people who are trying to save their marriages, who might be in struggle because there's an affair, or who are in struggle because they've fallen into a rut and they don't know how to get out of the rut and they don't want to separate. They're trying to figure out how do we save this thing, and they're acknowledging that they don't have the skills. And interestingly enough, I have a lot of men as well. The men tend to be my favorites because men tend to come to me in their early 40s or their late 30s when they have played a lot and they are having sort of a crisis of conscience. And they're saying, I realize what I've done in my past and I realize how I've been with women and I don't want to be that way anymore. And I'm looking to face the music and to undo this and to figure out how to actually settle down properly and have a proper foundation. And they're realizing the messages that they received from men in their lives, from the OGs, from the barbershop, from whoever, are actually challenging what it is that they're trying to grow and to build. And so I love helping them to navigate as well. When I spoke with Michelle, one of the things that she said that she wanted me to think about as I was preparing my thoughts today was, how do we navigate the new terrain as godly people in a society where relationship morals have shifted? And my goodness, I see this everywhere. The reality in dating is that if you've been in a marriage, for instance, and you haven't been on the markets for a while, and maybe you've been off, or maybe you've been in consecration and you've decided you're not going to be on the market for a while, you're not going to focus, and you've been out of the dating realm for 5-10 years, I always recommend working with a coach, working with someone who understands relationships and who can tell you about the terrain and how to navigate it, because the reality is nothing is the way that it was before. It's a jungle out here. It really is. The lack of morality, the lack of integrity, the lack of honor, etc., the lack of godly principles is at an all-time high. Excuse me. I'm not gonna lie about that. It used to be that we would court, that everybody understood what the rules of courtship were, and that when a woman entered into a courtship with a man, she understood that and they knew what was going on, and that's the way that you did things. It was pretty successful. It is now not that way. Now there is a word for it, and it's called dating, but the realities of dating is anything goes. So you could be dating a man or think that you're dating a man only to find out that he's dating multiple people, only to find out that he's married, only to find out that he lives with someone, only to find out that there's a woman that he doesn't define himself as being with, but she defines herself as being with him. You could find out, that he has several children, and the woman that he's having children with, even though they are not together, they are sleeping together. There are so many different things that you have to navigate now that make dating complicated. One of the other things that I see a lot when we're talking about morality is there is a tendency, and I wish I didn't have to say it this way, but I'm just going to speak to you, the way I would speak to my little sisters. Men lie a lot about everything. And so what is needed from a woman is wisdom, discernment, and a very real grasp on reality. Now, am I saying all of this to you because I want you to have no hope and I want you to think that, all men are not great and there's no reason to get married or to couple? No, not at all. I'm saying these things to you because I want you to think realistically about what it is that you're going to encounter so that you will understand how to navigate it and you will understand what to look for and what's realistic and what's not realistic. I think one of the issues that we have is going in even to godly relationships and dealing with godly men or men who present as godly men and assuming that because they love God, they won't A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that has been something that's also been very illuminating for me, finding out that men will not just lie, but they will lie on God, you know? And going into relationships with my own sense of a moral core and understanding what it is that I want and being completely honest and oftentimes too honest. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then realizing that the person that I'm dealing with is not necessarily that honest. I want to be really clear, since I've said all of these things, there are great men out there. I'm going to say that again. There are great men out there. There are godly men out there. There are men who love women out there, who want families out there, and who are seeking that. In fact, one of the interesting things when you talk to a lot of men who are in that space is they speak a lot about the frustrations of not being able to find godly women who they can get along with, who are also realistic and who also want to settle down. And so on our side, while there's a lot of women who are looking for a covenant and looking for something very, substantial in terms of stability and sustainability and safety and security, et cetera, and we're looking for that in covenant with legitimacy, meaning titles and rings and ceremonies before God, there are a lot of people who are dating to hook up and they're not dating with marriage in mind. But the reality of that is it crosses over, and there are a lot of women who are doing that now as well. There's been sort of a, if you can't beat them, join them sort of mentality. And so there are a lot of women who either it's if you can't beat them, join them, or it's, maybe there's a series, as Michelle was talking about, of unsuccessful relationships. And so you say, well, I'm not going to do this God's way. I tried this God's way. It's not working that way. So I'm just going to throw myself out there and, roll with the punches and do what they do. And the realities are there's a lot of hurt that's happening on both sides as a direct result of that. We hurt ourselves when we don't do things God's way. And as a result of the hurt, oftentimes we end up hurting other people, hurt people. And so I don't recommend it. It's very interesting. Not only am I a coach and a counselor, I also have had a 20-year career in Hollywood. And so in that capacity, I've worked as a producer and a reporter, and I'm constantly asking questions and interviewing. And that skill set transfers over into my relationship work as well. And I bring it up because I've also had this wonderful privilege of being able to interview people from so many different walks of life. And the more I interview and the more vast and wide I go regarding the different thought processes and philosophies of life and even religions and different ways that people were raised in terms of everybody doesn't trust God and everybody doesn't believe God and everybody hasn't been exposed to the exact same ways of applying foundational principles that we have. What I find 9 times out of 10 is whether they've been exposed to it or not, the things that work tend to mirror what God has already told us. And the things that don't work don't mirror what God, has already told us. I have a mentor, and that is something that I would recommend for everybody. Actually, I have 2 mentors, and one of them is around my age and has been married and comes from a long line of happily married couples. And the other one is 88 years old. She's a PhD and she's licensed to practice in Los Angeles, which is where I live, as a marriage and family therapist. And she's been doing that for 50 years. And she is the one who coined the terminology of one of the things that a woman needs to know before she enters into a relationship with a man on any level is, who are you? Who are you? And her theory is you must be an I before you are a we. You must be. And what that means is you need to know who you are. You need to know what you want from a man, what you want from a relationship. And most importantly, What is going to be required for you to be able to love a man over the long term? Meaning, if I'm going to be married to this man and it's going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years sustainably, or like my grandparents, my granddad just died last year at 103, and they had been married for 72 years. If I'm going to be married for 72 years, I'm going to serve this man in godliness. What do I need in order for me to feel motivated and inspired to do that? This is the space that I am seeing us lacking the most right now when we actually get the guy, when we actually get the marriage. What do I mean? Most of us were taught unconditional love, and it is a beautiful concept in theory. However, most of us were taught it in such a way that what ends up happening is we give, we nurture, we are good to, we serve, we honor, we pour into, we do our homework, we go to the sessions, we go to the retreats, we go to the classes, we listen to the podcasts, we read the books, and this man ends up with this amazing wife who is totally prepared to serve, to honor, to give, to do for, etc. But the man is not in the same position. He is not equally prepared for you. He is not equally ready for you. He is not necessarily giving, protecting, and cherishing you and giving you exactly what it is that you need for you to be continuously inspired to do that. How does that happen? Well, we go in with the best of intentions and we're going, or he's interviewing us and he's asking us what kinds of wives we are. And we start auditioning. Oh, I'm this type of wife. I'm that type of wife. I'm this kind of woman. I'm that type of, and what are we thinking about? All the competition and how we need to level them and how we need to stand out to him as a Proverbs 31 woman. And so we sell ourselves, and that's beautiful. You should. I'm not telling you, don't, while you are in the courtship phase, sell the best qualities of yourself to this man. Of course you should. That is the part that we don't need help with. That is the part that we do very well. What we miss that costs us greatly is, who is this man going to be to me? It is not enough just to have a man. I am in these marriages talking, and I'm in the entrails of the issues, and the women are showing up. And they are awesome and dynamic and loving and supportive and encouraging and pouring into these men. And the men are not doing the same things for the women. And what we tend to do, sisters, is we roll up our sleeves at the very beginning. We're like, well, I can be and I can do. And sometimes to our detriment, we go, well, I don't have that many needs, or I just love loving unconditionally, or no matter what he does, I'm going to love him the way that I'm supposed to love him, because I'm dutiful and I'm a servant. And you don't do it for him, you do it for God, and all of that is great, but all of that is very spiritual. And you can be so heavenly bound that you are no earthly good. And at the end of the day, you got to live down here. You're not going to live in heaven with this man. And what I'm telling you is, if you do not make sure that your needs are taken care of, if you do not mandate it, if you do not require it, you cannot assume that you're going to get it. And what is worse, they will take from you, they will not give to you if you do not require it and insist upon it and fight for it. And then when you get tired 10 years in, which is on average 5 to 10 years that we can do this, he will blame you for not speaking up for yourself. He will blame you for not negotiating the way that you should have negotiated. He will blame you for not loving yourself the way that you should have. Oh, this is so good. My 88-year-old mentor says, a woman must be completely in love with herself in order for a man to even fall in love with her. I will say that again. A woman must be in love with herself in order for a man to fall completely in love with her. For those of us who are watching the Uvalde, Texas shootings of the babies I'll leave it at that. There was a story that came out of there that was of a beautiful love story of a teacher who died with her children, protecting her children, her students. She had been married for 24 years to the love of her life. And unfortunately, her man died 2 days later of a broken heart. They've been married for 24 years. They had 4 children. spoke about this with my 88-year-old mentor, who is very, very wise. You all need mentors. You need to follow wise women. You need to sit up under some women who have wisdom and literally just sit at their feet, take them out for coffee, take them out to lunch. But we've got wisdom amongst us, and it's not being utilized. That was me digressing. Okay, so we're talking about this 24-year-old marriage and the man who died 2 days later of a broken heart because he could not live without this woman that he had been with for 24 years. Why did that happen, and how did that happen? The way that happens is there is a woman who is so in love with herself that she requires the man she is with to love her the way she already loves herself. That is the only way that it happens. Men do not trust women who love them more than we love ourselves. How can they tell? Oh, well, let me finish that. They adore women who love themselves and then require us to treat them or treat ourselves, the way that we treat ourselves. So let me say that a little bit more clearly. If I'm in love with myself and I'm super good to myself and I pamper myself and I spend money on myself and I spend time on myself and I spend time with God and I require you to do all of these things as well, men are enamored with that. What women are doing right now is we are making ourselves easy and convenient, and you can't be convenient and special. You can't be convenient and a priority. You can't. And so there's a fear, a fear of being rejected, a fear that our price is too high, a fear that our standards are too high, a fear that our boundaries and our requirements for these men are going to send them packing because, we're all in this competitive market and everybody's trying to get married. When the reality is your standards, your requirements, your boundaries signal a man that you are quality, that you are the highest quality, that you don't love him or like him more than you love yourself, that you respect and admire yourself, that you treat yourself well, and that he won't even have access to you unless he comes with that same energy. And so we are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who believe and are saved. What are we believing? That we are worthy, that we are rubies, that our price is high, that we are the apple of God's eye, and that any man who comes in and wants to be with us forever must provide, protect, and cherish. He must. It's mandatory. It's a priority. You must mandate it. You must require it from jump. He must give to you from jump. Where do we see a biblical example of this, and how does it work out? I'm so glad you asked. Anybody know Rachel and Leah? Every girl wants to be Rachel. Why? Because she was adored by that man. Why did he adore her? I would argue with what I have learned, yes, it was her beauty. And we are beautiful, and you should be beautifying yourself. Esther went through a year's worth of beauty treatments in preparation for marriage, and men are visual. And so you should be beautifying yourself, and you should not be sloppy, and you should have a pride about yourself where you want to look good and you want to smell good and you want to be visually stimulating wherever you are presenting so the man can catch your eye and be inspired. But I would also argue part of what made that man love her so much is the fact that he was required to give to her up front an initial investment. Now, here's where things get complicated today, because we're talking about morality today and how it's affecting our dating relationships today. And I got to tell you, women are not requiring men to give to them. He gave to her for 7 years, and then when he found out he didn't have her, he gave another 7 years just to make sure she got him. So that's in a man if he wants you. It's in him. But he has to be inspired. And one of the things that a woman does to inspire a man, and I'm not saying this for the purpose of fairness, I'm saying this for the purpose of, do you understand what manhood and womanhood are and how they inspire one another and how they go together, is she has to require him to give, and he has to give first. He has to initiate. He has to pursue. He has to call you. Michelle was saying earlier, all this texting, nah, texting is low effort. Pick up the phone, call me. And we're only going to talk for so long before there better be a date in there somewhere. Take me out, spend money on me, buy me flowers, say please and thank you, pull my chair out. I can tell you what my order is and you can order for me. Be chivalrous, hold my hand, open the doors for me, walk on the outside of the street so that I'm not going to be the person with the puddles or with the car. Show me that I am a woman and you are a man and that this is what you want. What you all need to be aware of is there are a lot of men right now who are wanting you to give to them, but they are not looking to give to you, which is why I started this by saying your love for these men cannot be unconditional. If you love a man unconditionally, you are going to get used. If you love a man without any requirements, he will not show up for you and give you what it is that you need. You must advocate for yourself. You must assert yourself. You must require things from him. Part of the reason why men are not showing up and being the men that they are supposed to be for women, part of that is us. It is, what are you requiring? It is, what are you stating that you need? It is, what are you saying? Hey, if you want to be with me, this is what you need to do, And then when they argue back and forth with you, you say, well, how would I know if you were interested in me if you don't do these things that men who are interested in women clearly do? That's it. Beyond that, if a man, while you are dating, and I have to be really clear about this, y'all need to pick them well. You need to look for everything while you're dating. You need to know that there is evidence, tangible evidence, not I want, I think, I feel, or it's in my dreams, or there's potential for. No, you are going to marry the man who is in front of you right now. So the man in front of you, if he is serious about you, will make efforts. He will serve. He will be kind. He will sacrifice. Oh, let's talk about sacrifice. What does sacrifice look like? He will inconvenience himself for you. That means if you're stuck by the side of the road with a flat tire, call him. If you're afraid to call him, he ain't the one. And you've already set your relationship up the wrong way. If you are stuck by the side of the road, if you are in any sort of a strapping situation and you are dating someone who is a suitor for a potential husband and you are afraid to call him with your problem, that's not your husband. That's not your husband. And you have set that thing up wrong. Men are useful. I'm not talking about using them. We're talking morality here. So I don't train women to use men. However, men want to be useful. They are problem solvers. They're looking for a job to do for you. They want to show you their value. And the more that they invest in you up front, the more tied they are to you, the less likely they are to ghost you and to disappear, the less likely you are to need them and they are to need you, which is the way it's supposed to be. Why? Because if you love a woman unconditionally, she will love you back. If you love a man unconditionally, he will use you. That is the reason you cannot love him unconditionally. I was just on a live stream with a gentleman who is, I love this story. Okay, he's been married 4 times. He is on his 4th marriage right now. He has a PhD and he got it right this time. First 3 marriages, short-term, but producing children. So he's happy about that because the 2nd marriage, he hasn't had children. He is married to, and this is a Black couple. There are 2 PhDs. They're certified in Myers-Briggs, which is relationship training, personality training. And they have been running groups of men and women out of Beverly Hills, teaching them how to do relationships the last 22 years, okay? We talked about his first 3 marriages recently, and it was fascinating. Okay, first marriage, he said, I married for love. I said, what happened there? He said, well, I thought, she loves me, she's into me, she loves me more than I love her, pay attention to that. And so, I figured, I'll marry her because she likes me, and, she'll do all the heavy lifting and I'll just be able to cruise. I won't have to do much, and she'll be there. And what happened? They got married. And for a while, it was okay. This is what we do, ladies. We're not thinking about ourselves. That one wasn't thinking about herself. She was thinking, I like him. I want him. Let me marry him. Well, once she gets in there and she realizes, I don't have a husband, he has a wife. What happens? She cheats on him. And she cheats on him with a couple of his friends. And so that marriage is over. Oh, yeah. Why did she cheat on him? Because the truth is, nobody wants to be used and taken advantage of. And the moment that you find out by living with this man and doing for him that, wait a minute, you knew I loved you. You let me marry you. And you had no intentions of giving as well as you were getting. Now you're angry. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. You know, she ain't saved. She took it out on him. There you go. And so why am I saying this? Because there are lessons to be learned. He genuinely thought, this will work well because she loves me. He also thought, I don't have to do anything. You need to know that this is how men think. You need to be careful about sending the message that you love him and that there's nothing that's required of him because you're pleasing and unconditional and godly. And trust me, there are men who will take advantage of the fact that you are godly, and this is the exploitation that they're after. That's the first marriage. Second marriage, he married for money. That didn't work. He said, money is not it. Who was it? Dr. Phil actually said, if you marry for money, you're going to earn every penny. You're going to get taxed on a lot of things. Oh, yeah. You're going to get taxed on a lot of things that you are not thinking about. And again, I will go to, nobody on this planet wants to be used, period, point blank, in a story. And so once I am understanding in this marriage that the reason you're here is the money and it's not me, that ain't gonna work. The fights, the resentments, the problems are going to come up. He said the last time he married, it was for sex. So yes, a man will marry you for sex. Well, how did he get the sex? She didn't love herself. She didn't love herself. Which brings me back to a previous point that I didn't finish. How? Because I told you men fall in love with women who are completely in love with themselves. How do I show a man that I'm in love with myself? I prioritize myself above him. How do I do that? Number one way you can do that, close your legs while you're dating. I know I'm talking to Christian women. I know I'm talking to godly women. I know I'm talking to women who understand what fornication is. But the reality is I've been out on dates with men who have literally told me, when I told them the requirements to get into my body was a ring, that church girls are the easiest and the best girls. So I still know, even to this audience, I need to say, close your legs, ladies. Why? Back to the Uvalde teacher. Men need virtue. They need it. They need for their wives to be virtuous. I have a book back here that Bishop Eddie Long wrote called, I Don't Want Delilah, I Need You. It is exactly that concept. There are tons of women out here who are Delilahs. The reality is women have their legs spread left and right. They are giving free sex. They are becoming free wives. They think that that is the way to become what it is that we are looking to become, which is a legitimate wife. It is not the way. What happens when you give yourself to a man who has not earned you, because men only value what they earn, is multiple things. Number one, he doesn't value the way that he would otherwise. Number two, and this is the most important thing, he doesn't trust you. He doesn't trust you. Why doesn't he trust you? Because he was able to con his way into your body. What do I mean by that? I mean, men know that there's no such thing as free sex. I mean that men know that they're supposed to pay. They know that they're supposed to give you a ring, that they're supposed to buy you dinner, that they're supposed to go knock on your door and talk to your daddy, that they're supposed to legitimize this thing and legalize this thing and give you a title. And everywhere you go socially, people are supposed to know that the two of you are together. How many relationships do you all know or that you have been in where none of that was present? Or all of that wasn't present? Those are the bare minimums that men know they are supposed to give to you in order for them to have access to your body. Well, what's happening? We aren't requiring it. We're afraid A guy tells us, well, you know, everybody else is doing it, so you better. That worked when we were 15. How is that working at 40? They tell you, well, you know, nobody's going to, it's 2022. Nobody's going to wait for you. That's not how dating is working. And you listen and you believe them. Or they say, I have all these other options, and you listen and you believe them. And here's the truth. They do have a lot of options. There are a lot of women who this is working on, and friends with benefits is a big thing right now. And even, and I'm going to tell y'all, because we're all in these age groups, 40, 50, 60, 70, they're still doing this. Some of them are getting out of marriages to do this because there's so much free sex out there. Women are not valuing themselves, that men are leaving covenants to come out and have a part of the smorgasbord. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's our fault. We control sex, they control marriage. That's our fault. So you should not be doing that. How do you show a man that you are in love with yourself? You say no to sex and you require something in order for him to get into your body. That's how you do that. What it screams when you do that is, I like you, but I love me, and I love me more. I have standards, I have requirements, and no matter what you say, this is what's going to be required. So when a man falls in love with a woman, which doesn't happen a lot anymore, because, and I'm trying to do this so quickly, men aren't falling in love truthfully because they can't trust us. They can't trust us because they're getting into our bodies for free. When a man can get into your body for free, what that tells him is any man can get into your body for free. If I buy you a steak and you sleep with me, then I know that that's your price. That means if I marry you and I get stationed in China or Dubai, if I am on an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean and you are there on your own feeling lonely, a guy can buy you a steak and get into your body because I'm not there. This is how men think. Now, my life is in danger for one of two reasons. Either the betrayal you're about to do that I didn't know was coming because I risked completely falling in love with you. So I'm going to die of a broken heart syndrome heart attack. That's one way I die. The other way I die is because now I got to kill somebody because I'm completely in love with you and somebody is with my woman. And we are not talking the truth about that. I'm talking about both sides here, you know? So if a man risks falling in love with you and giving his absolute best to you, he needs to know that he's got the best quality of woman, because if he doesn't have that, he risks his life. So there are a lot of women who are thinking that they won when they got them the wrong way, and they come in for counseling, and I'm looking at the ways that their relationships are set up as a result of going sex first. And there is so much that's missing, you guys. It's not the relationship that you want. And I can always track it back to, he doesn't trust her. Why not? She didn't require anything for him to get in. So he knows she's not virtuous. Why am I saying all of this? Michelle spoke earlier about what do you get out of it? And she said that there were rewards for following God. That's absolutely true. There are rewards for being virtuous. There are rewards for requiring a man to pay up front. There are rewards, for understanding your worth and for learning who you are before you meet him. And then for falling so in love with yourself that you require him to do things in the way that you need him to do them. And then when you get with that man and he's done all the things that you need, you reward him for everything that he has done. You give him back the love that he needs in that space. So what I'm setting up here is a courtship is about one person chasing another person. It's not about equality. It's not about fairness. It's about one person is pursuing another person. That is very clear. And it is your job to tell him what is required in order for him to capture your heart and to keep your heart over the long term. And if you know yourself and you understand yourself and you are confident enough to require what you really need, not a discount that you think you can get, but what you really need to be able to sustain those 20, 30, 40, 50 years of marriage, you'll do well. You'll do well. Yeah, I know. Are there any questions?
I'm trying to recover. I'm speechless. Wow, wow, wow. Can everybody just say wow in the chat? Because I know your brains are just like reeling. Because that was real, okay? And probably a bit revolutionary, probably shook you to your core, reminded you of who you are, excuse me, or where you need to be. Because there's a lot of settling going on, a lot of compromise.
A lot. And settling doesn't get you anything. It makes me feel really, really, really sad and bad because I know why we settle. I've settled before. It's fear. It's all of the things that you think you can't get it. You think he's going to run away. You think you have competition. You think your standards are too high. You think you're never going to get the thing that you want. And so you don't even ask. And like I said, if we shrink back, we're not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who believe and are saved. If we shrink back, he's not pleased with us.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not pleased. And the man won't be either. And then you set up a dynamic because men are hunters where he's like, oh, I got her. Now he's going to be a monster. You're creating a monster. You can't love him more than you love yourself. You will always lose that way. You will be taken advantage of, you'll be exploited, and they will not feel bad about it. Oh my God. One more thing about the PhD gentleman that I mentioned who was married 4 times. When I started holding him, because I want to display to you how much they don't feel bad if they exploit you and you allow it. When he married the woman for love, and she loved him more than he loved her, and he knew it. When I started holding him accountable for marrying a woman because he didn't want to do the heavy lifting and he knew that she would be willing to do all the heavy lifting, he countered me holding him accountable because I'm like, how integral is that? You knew it wasn't going to be fair or equal or reciprocal. He said, that's her fault. Why did she marry me? Yes, yeah. Oh, I need you to hear it. I'm so glad I'm seeing your shocked faces. Yes, I need you to know how these men think about this. And he's a PhD and he's teaching men and women about relationships. He said, wait. That's her fault. She didn't advocate for herself. She did not assert herself and say, this is what I need. That's her fault. What am I trying to tell you, ladies? If you do not know who you are and what you need and then require it, you're not going to get it and they're not going to feel bad. This is where we view this as integrity, morality, decency, honor. I have literally had conversations with men about this and they're just on some, hey, if you need it, say it. So you have to say it. More importantly, you have to require it. And please hear me when I say it has to be mandatory, because if it's not mandatory, if it's even just a little bit optional, he's going to run over you. You're not going to get it. You're going to give up. And he's going to whittle you down to what he wants you to be instead of you being who you actually are. And those marriages do not work. They end up lopsided. And you can do that for about 10 years before you want to chop his head off and then you're out. But I'm trying to tell you, you're creating that.
Yeah. And this brings up something because one of the things that I think about too is that men will go along with you until they find something else to do. So that's another thing. When we become a convenient source of pleasure, and then they're going along with you, and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't want this anymore. And you're going like, what? Well, they did.
Yes.
So we have to realize too that we do set ourselves up for that and take responsibility.
Can I tell you one of the best ways to avoid that?
Sure.
Standards, boundaries, requirements, make them pay up front. Listen, okay, when I say a man needs to be investing in you from day one, there's a reason behind everything I say. There's a reason behind. So what's the reason behind this? If a man is investing in you, the more that he invests in you, the more he's trying to get back out of it.
Yes.
He's trying to chase his investment around. Okay. So, there's a joke and there are these memes about, and I'll give you just a short one. There are these memes about like a guy who you're in a club and he buys you a drink and maybe he spent 12, 14 bucks on that drink, but he runs around the entire club all night chasing you because he's trying to get back his money for his drink, right? So he figures, I bought you a drink, now I own you for the night, right? That's what it is. The more he invests in you up front, the more vested he is in making it work. Men don't get bored with women who require them to work for them. There's something in that tells him, I have a job to do and I'm worth something. And this is the other part. Men fall in love when they're giving. This is so good. Men fall in love when they're giving. They do not fall in love when they are receiving. This is the reason why you don't give up front, because he needs to fall in love with you. Why? When a man is driving an hour outside of his way to come see you and spending an hour or two on the phone with you every night and buying dinners every weekend and bringing flowers and planning trips and planning excursions and planning all kinds of wonderful things to do and getting dressed up and taking a shower and putting on a suit and all this stuff, all of that is an investment. You know what he's telling himself as he's doing all of that? I must really like her. I don't do all this for anybody. That's what he needs to be thinking. That is not boring. That is not boring. Do you know when a man is bored and when he's going to leave you? When you forget who you are and you don't require him to treat you the way that you treat yourself. Growing up, I was always watching the Oprah show, and every once in a while you'd see a middle-aged woman, 40, 45. She was frumpy. She had gained weight. She wasn't like, her hair wasn't together, etc. She didn't wear any makeup. She had a bored husband sitting next to her, and usually two bored teenage sons who were the same. And the story was always the same. Oprah would be like, what happened? She'd be like, I don't know. I was taking care of everybody else, and somehow I just ended up at the end of the list. Don't do that. That is selflessness. That is unconditional love. You don't do that. You have to prioritize yourself. You got to go to the hairdresser. You got to go get a pedicure. You got to go take a workout class. You got to go to brunch with your girlfriends. And you don't stop this stuff for the people that you have joined your life to. One of the worst things that women do when they get into a great relationship with a guy is they stop doing all of the things that they did before and they make him their life. Let me give you a little secret. He doesn't want to be your life. He wants you to be his life. Woo! They love, yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Did y'all hear that? Say that again. Say that again.
He want to be your life. He doesn't want to be the center of your universe where everything in your universe is surrounded around him. No, he actually wants it the opposite way around. And by the way, he's not going to tell you that. I have to tell you. They don't know what they want, or they lie about what they want, or they're just unaware of what they want. I'm telling you what works. When you are the central focus of his life and he's trying to figure out, how do I make her happy? How do I put a smile on her face? How do I do something to get into her world and influence her and make her happy and get in, like, that's what he wants. He doesn't want to be, they get bored when you dote on them like that. They get bored when you stop taking care of yourself to take care of him. I know a lot of our moms taught us that. I'm telling you, it's not. I'm studying this stuff. I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. They don't like it.
Now, Denai, I got to ask this question because I think that there's a man who is a great receiver for a while. And then at his core, because he's wired to be a man, he starts to actually resent you for what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he might even say, you know, I'm not good enough for you.
Yep.
I'm not ready. What do we do? How do we handle that truth? And do we see it as truth or do we see it as a cop-out? Because I think a lot of times we don't want to hear the truth about that person. And they're actually revealing the truth about themselves.
Yeah,
As Angela, what's her name? You know what I'm going to say. Maya Angelou would say, when someone shows you who they are, believe
them.
And
Maya also said a man will tell you who he is, and we so frequently go, no, you're not. Like she said, you know, a man will tell you, now listen, I'm crazy, and you're like, no, you're not. And then he knocks you across the floor, and you're like, why'd you do that? And he says, I told you I was crazy. We need to listen to everything that they're saying. We further need to listen to what they're not saying as well. We need to be more elusive We need to be more involved with ourselves. I mean it when I say you need to be in love with yourself. You need to be in love with your life. You need to create a life that he actually would want to be a part of. But more importantly, create a life that you really love living. So if you're bored and you're sad and you're depressed, you need to get out there and you need to start having fun and adventures. You all are in great cities. You've got the internet. Go to meetup.com and find groups that are all around all kinds of different interests you have and start trying things. Men love women who are in love with life too. It's very attractive. Yes, but yes, they will tell you if you overgive, because I told you, men don't fall in love when they're receiving. And I'm not going to go too deep with this because it can be very sexual, but I will say, think of the way that God created us. A man's body is built to give. A phallus is a giver. It gives seed, it gives pleasure, it gives orgasm, it gives a lot. So when a man is not giving to you, that's a problem. And look for the giving while you're dating. Don't marry a man who doesn't give to you. Do not do that. You're going to set yourself up for a horrible thing.
But what if they're not
you are constantly receiving? Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, if you are constantly receiving, it's going to be perceived as you are low value. You do not understand your self-worth, and that you think you have to do something in order for him to love you. That is the wrong signal. You do not want to do that. And as Michelle was saying, it will shut down. Like for a while, he will like the fact that you're doing stuff and giving to him and paying for stuff and taking him places and driving out your way for a while because it feels good. It's attention. People like that. Over the long haul, he's going to say, yeah, you're not the woman for me. And part of it is there's something about it that feels off. Okay, so I will say it this way. If I was built to give, because I'm a phallus, and you're a womb and you're a receiver, right? If I am receiving instead of giving, then I don't feel like me. I feel like I'm off and I'm not doing what I was built to do. And so, you know, my mentor says everything between a man and a woman who are romantically linked is sex. Intercourse is just intercourse. So if you think of your dynamics that way, he should be giving, you should be receiving. And when you receive, you should constantly be appreciative, acknowledging, and vocal about your enthusiasm. You know, I won't go too far down that road, but that you should be vocal and you should be enthusiastic. And women make mistakes with that as well. All he needs from you is a thank you, is appreciation, is and I say that because our tendency tends to be, oh, he did something wonderful for me. Let me do something wonderful for him. No. Oh, he took me out. Let me take him out. No. Oh, he bought me an expensive gift. Let me buy him an expensive gift. No. Equality dulls romance. I told you, courtship is about one person giving, another person receiving. So what you can do, like I said, always be appreciative, always be enthusiastic, always let him know, praise him, how he is doing and what he's doing and what you like about it and what you love about it and how much he's doing such a great job. He needs your applause and your approval. He wants to please you, but he doesn't want you matching him and giving him what you need, not what he needs. What you can do for clarity is if he takes you out on 5 dates or 4 dates, you can take him out on 1. It should never be equal. You should always feel like you owe him. He's the pursuer and it has to be clear. One of the reasons why a lot of women don't know why, or excuse me, don't know when a man wants them or likes them or is genuinely interested at this point is because we're too equal. And we do it for all the wrong reasons. We go, well, I do make a lot of money and I might even make more than him. Or I might have more PhDs than him, or I might, but nobody asked you all of that. That has nothing to do with courtship. That has nothing to do with courtship. At courtship, one person pursuing another that they are interested in, let him pursue, allow it. I don't care if you're a billionaire, let him buy you dinner.
Okay, so Denai, I think you've answered it though, because someone was asking, what about the train of thought that women who have a life, men feel like they're not needed? And I hear them
that's
say
not why they feel like they're not needed.
Okay.
They feel like they're not needed because you don't make any room for your life. So we're doing extremes here. So let me clarify that. We either tend to drop our lives and focus solely on him. Don't do that. Or we have a life and we don't have any room or time for him. Don't do that either. These are extremes. Have a life and plan for him. Saturday night belongs to him. It's date night. 1 hour a night, I'm going to talk to him because we need to build our relationship and bond. But I'm going to get off after an hour and go, you know what? I have homework, or I have Bible study, or my mom is calling me, or I'm going to my girlfriend's house. You don't cancel your plans with your girlfriend on Saturday afternoon because you talk to him for an hour. You talk to him for the hour, and then you go, I got to go to my class. I got to go to my thing. I got to whatever. And what that tells him is she likes me, but she also has a life, and I'm not more important than her life.
Now, I want to give you an example of something that happened with a friend of mine, newly divorced. And this guy was working with her on a project. And so, the inevitable happened. And it seemed as everything was going well. But then something happened with her where her needs were really revealed in a sense, she was having some financial struggles as well as physical struggles from the accident. And the guy just kind of flipped and said, he didn't think he could be the man that she needed. Basically she was too needy. I think she kind of had a little explosion, and he decided that's not the type of person I want in my life. And she's devastated about it because basically it seemed as if he just flipped. I tend to think he didn't just flip, but I want to get your take on that.
So they were together and she went through something and he wasn't there for her. And then she got angry with him, correct?
Yes. And then he decided, if she was going to blow up like that, he didn't want any parts of any woman like that in his life. And they were intimate after that. Probably she felt she needed to do that to win him back. And he still just cast the whole thing off.
She didn't need to be intimate in order to fix that. So here's the thing. Ephesians 5:33. Cherish respect. Relationships are an exchange. Men need respect. Need. It's mandatory. You must respect him. You must respect him unconditionally. The only time that you do not respect your man is if you need to call the police, a doctor, or a lawyer. That's when you do those things because he's out of pocket and he's gone too far. Beyond that, you respect him always. A woman needs to be cherished and adored. She needs to be loved, okay? And same thing, the woman gets whatever she wants, no matter what. You cherish her, unless we're out of pocket, because women are out of pocket nowadays as well.
And let me interject that
yes,
he had 4 kids and he felt pressured. He also was financially strapped.
Of course he was.
Yeah, and he, has these 4 kids, and so
I love that you gave that as well, because I was gonna say they did not negotiate, and it didn't have to be over. She just didn't know how to fix it. He felt disrespected so he had the initial was he felt like he wanted to help her, but he couldn't help her the way that she needed, right? That's the first part. She had a need. He couldn't completely feel it. That makes a man feel like a failure because he actually wants to provide for the woman that he's interested in. So if he feels like a failure with you, he's going to leave. This is the reason why you have to watch the way that you ask and the way that you complain about the things that you need, because if he's constantly feeling like he's losing with you, he is going to make some sort of an excuse to get away from you because he needs to feel like he's winning. So that's the first part. She had a need, he couldn't meet the need, and they didn't have a real conversation about that. Second part, she got angry. You can not, the thing that men fear the most with us is our anger, and there are so many women who don't know that. When she got angry with him, she disrespected him. Her anger told him that she's scary, that when he fails, he's going to be doubly punished by having this raging woman coming at him. And so he can't take that. Men are way more sensitive on the inside than women are. And we don't know that. We are way tougher. Meaning, one of the principles that my other mentor teaches foundationally, when it comes to respect, What we don't understand about men is if you disrespect a man, it's not like disrespecting a woman. You can disrespect a woman and we will apologize and try to make amends and it's all good. If you disrespect a man, he's plotting your demise, or he's plotting how he's going to cheat on you, or he's plotting how to get away from you. And we don't understand that. So depending on the caliber of her rage and what she actually said, things were revealed in that anger. What I would have recommended if I were coaching her is I would have said, and this is the work of my 88-year-old PhD mentor, a man has a right to be a man, whether you approve of him or not. And you have to constantly affirm that no matter what. You don't have to like everything he does. He's a free spirit. He has freedom, and freedom is the other thing that they need more than anything. He is not looking to be controlled by you. And if you try to control him, he's going to get away from you. Therefore, the way that you enter into your conflict resolution, the dialogue, the script is, you have every right to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have every right to do that. After you tell him he has every right to do it, and I mean make him right for the thing he's doing wrong or the thing that is bothering you, you then assert yourself and say, however, I don't like it. This is the way that it makes me feel. What do you think about doing it this way instead? So you can incorporate my feelings in what you're doing. And what can I do to help us to get this done? What do you need from me? It's a totally different way of dealing with conflict. The way that she dealt with it, all he heard was mean, shrew, who's going to make me feel like everything's my fault and who's going to try to control me. And I'm never going to be able to please her or make her happy. And that's miserable for me because I want to please the woman I'm with. So I'm out. And sex didn't undo that damage.
So what do you do in that case? Is there hope for this relationship if the person is being adamant about, you're not the person I want to be with, I need you to leave me alone, get back, because she has pursued it to try to make up, and he is completely shut down and saying, get away from me?
I would, if he would allow for one more conversation, I would say something along the lines of, I am now aware of what I did wrong. Like, own it, 100%. I'm now aware of what I did wrong. I thought that this was the way to handle this situation. And I am now very aware that what I did was wrong and that I had no right to yell, scream, disrespect, dishonor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I also realized that you have a right to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that you also have a lot going on in your life. You have other responsibilities. You did not agree to be responsible to me, and I made you responsible to me, and that is controlling. And I realize that now. I didn't realize that before. I am actively working to grow in these areas, and I would really like it if we could figure out, if you could give me a second chance, or if we could figure out how to work together. But I just want you to know, I'm owning my stuff. Like, you just have to own it, but you have to show him what you're learning so that he's like, okay, well, maybe. Yes.
Okay. So the person said, I've done that several times, the exact way that you're saying it.
Okay.
He still wants nothing to do with me. He says he needs to protect himself and wants space, and says he just does not want me anymore.
I would leave it alone. I would. If you have done what I'm saying, what you don't want to do, because you literally do have to humble all the way out. But if you have completely humbled out and you've done it several times, there are times when you cannot fix it. That's the reality. You know what I mean? The other reality, there are times that you cannot fix it. And some lessons that are very expensive end up being, I will never do this again. Like, in other words, that might have been the lesson that you needed in your life for you to understand you don't yell at men. You don't yell at men. You don't yell and scream and curse and whatever it is that you did, you can't do it that way. And for you to prioritize, when I am in conflict with a man, I will learn how to conflict resolve in a manner that always respects them while inviting them to cherish me, because this other way doesn't work. So I that's a very specific language, because I'm not telling you not to get your needs met. I'm telling you respecting him is the best way to get your needs met, because then he actually has an incentive to cherish you. And now you can assert yourself, and you're much more likely to get your needs met. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes though, are we pushing it with people who really aren't, and I'm searching for a better word than qualify really to be with you.
Sometimes we are, but I think we have to be really honest about what we're contributing to.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be honest about that. We have to know sometimes we're all the way wrong. And by that, I mean, you can be right and be dead wrong. You know, if a man harms me in some way or violates a boundary or whatever, he's wrong because he violated the boundary. If I go after the jugular in order to communicate his wrong, I'm wrong. And I can lose him. I can lose him over that. And I will say, women tend to fight with our mouths. Men fight with their fists, but we fight with our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just say anything to a man and always assume he's going to be available. Like I said, if you disrespect a man, you go past a certain point. So we need to be really careful about this. He's not thinking about an apology anymore. He's thinking, I need to get away from you, or worse, stay here so that I can make you feel the way you just made me feel. I'm about to punish you, or I'm about to cheat on you, or I'm about to make your life miserable. No, I'm not dumping you. I want you to feel what you just did. So that's what I'm saying. Do not disrespect him. And if you are unaware of how to get your needs met without disrespecting him, I can teach you that. That's easy. That's not a problem.
Okay. I want to ask one more thing, because I think that sometimes we kind of get a package of there's Mr. Right and there's Mr. He'll Do, and I'll dress him up.
Ooh, yeah.
And then when things go wrong, we're upset and broken. But they didn't have the goods in the first place. It seemed good, you know. They were responding, but if you push the right buttons, you find out, you know, that based on what they didn't have, there are a bunch of insecurities there too that really can't handle your requirements.
Listen, I started this all off by saying you have to be an I before you're a we, and you have to know for certain, what do I need to show up for 40 years of serving you? Mr. Right now is not going to make it. He's not, because when you actually are in love and it's him, you have what you need to make it for the 40 years. That's what you need. You need to know, I made a right decision, and I like you and love you and admire you and respect you and esteem you and desire you to such an extent that when you screw up, which you're going to do, I still have the motivation to make it work. I still have the motivation to do what I need to do. I still have the motivation to show up, to serve, to fix, to, you know, to work on it, to all of those things. You don't have that with Mr. Right now. Listen, I'll tell on myself. I remember dating a Mr. Good Enough. And the first time he made a mistake, I remember my exact thoughts were, I don't like you enough for you to be acting like this. Like, you were supposed to, you know what I mean? Like, the reason why I said yes to you is because you're supposed to be the good guy. So if you're not everything that I'm saying in terms of the good guy, that's why I'm with you, then you got to go too, because I could have gotten this from over there. And I'm not, no, absolutely not. So that's what I'm saying. There's something inside of you that has to be fully invested in. I can show up for you for the rest of my life. If you can't show up for him, don't even, just let it go. Don't even do that. And then the other part is, now this is where our morality and our integrity comes in. That's not fair to him. You're not going to be your best. You're not going to love him the best. He deserves somebody to be with him who's head over heels for him too, and not just someone who's complacent. Because if you're just complacent, you're not going to put the efforts into the love that you would if you were head over heels. Let's be honest about that. So we got to have integrity too. You know, all God's children want to have somebody awesome. If you can't be that for him, let him go.
when you were talking a while ago, a friend of mine just got married, and I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Well, sometimes it's not about being happy; it's just about being content." And
Listen,
you know,
he ain't sure.
he married her because he knew that she loved him, but he's not in love with her.
And there you go. And that also tells me there's a lack of faith because you don't believe you can find what you need, and you are not willing to put yourself out there in order to do the work that's required to produce that. You know, and so I would be so curious about what his previous unhealed wounds would reveal, because that's all I see is I see unhealed wounds. And it makes me sad for her because she's not going to get what she needs, and neither is he. She's gonna listen. You cannot sleep up under a dude for 5 years, for 2 years, for 1 year, and not know he ain't really here. He don't really like me like that. She's gonna notice.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then what?
I told you, with the doctor, his wife cheated on him with like 2 of his friends. That's an act of violence. That is me saying, I don't like you and I don't like what you did, so I'm gonna get you back. Y'all got to be careful with people's hearts. We have to be honest. Men have hearts, women have hearts. The morality is you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You don't go out here just messing with people's hearts because, you know, I need a husband. Nah, if you can't minister to him the way he needs to be ministered to, leave that man alone. And vice versa.
Denai, this has been so rich. If it's been rich for you, will you put in the chat? There's one last question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. And I want you to tell people how they can contact you. If you've got books, services, we know that you're a counselor. So how do they get in touch with you if they want counseling? Someone says, how do women express their needs to their man in a respectful and mature way? I think you kind of covered that already, though.
Yeah. You just have to do it. You have to remember to be respectful always. And use loving language. Like I always say, make loving requests, meaning a lot of times women think that the way to get what you need out of a man is to grumble, fault find, complain, nag, etc. You can do all of that. And I have women who go, you know, well, he did it. And I'm like, yeah, but he didn't like you anymore. It's negative. That's not the way to do it. You make loving requests. Loving requests, use the sandwich method, you know, a compliment, the meat of your request, and then another compliment, or a compliment, the meat of your request, and then an acknowledgement. So that looks like, you know, babe, I love the way you blah, 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 fill in the blank, you know what would make me, or you could say, you know, it makes me so happy when you yada, yada, yada. And then you can say, you know what would make me even happier? You fill in the blank. If we went to Paris, if you bought me balloons, if you could wash the dishes, if you could help me with the kids, whatever your request is. And then after that, the last part of the bun is, I really appreciate having a husband who loves me so much that he like listens to me the way that you do. Or I really appreciate having a husband who, you know, prioritizes my needs in the way you do. Like, it's the best thing in the world. So men work really well off of praise. They are made in the image and likeness of God, and God, you know, when praises go up, blessings go down. It's the same with the man. Whatever you want to see him do more of, you praise it. That's how you get everything you want out of him. Don't nag, grumble, fault find, complain. No, praise him. And then make loving requests. Use terms of endearment, honey, sweetheart, baby, love bug, whatever your stuff is, you know, do it that way. And take the bass out your voice. Be feminine.
Yes, thank you. Can you tell them how to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I am on Instagram. My page is the Black Marriage Movement. There are 2. So mine is the one with like 300,000 followers. What else? Oh, yes. And so I teach classes. I go live. If you're in Los Angeles, I have an event next week where I'm going to be doing a panel discussion on the state of relationships as well in Los Angeles. And the link for that is in my bio on my page. It'll be in Inglewood. So if you're in LA, there are still tickets available for that. I have a women's group which is 8 weeks of teaching pre-taped. It is $300, but it is wife training. There's a ton of information in there if wife training is something that you're interested in. And then there's just a whole host of products that I also have that you can inquire about, and I can, give you lists. We're having a website being built right now. Beyond that, I coach, which you guys already know. And I'm a great friend to Mrs. Michelle McKinney Hammond. And I'm super grateful to be here. And I hope that you all got something lovely out of this. And that you'll come on by and visit me sometime.
Oh, yes. Please follow her. Please, please, please. That is a must. I'm going to turn this over to you now, Millie, because a lot has been said. I'm sure everybody's heads are spinning, but it was a good meal. Can y'all just say it was a good and juicy meal? There was steak. There was no chicken today.
Amen.
It was steak on the plate, okay? And I know that a lot of you are still chewing. Know that this is up on Facebook for about a week, and then it comes down. If you're in the tribe, you can go back and review it. But oh my goodness, mighty fine dining. This was bread and meat for the soul. It should make you fat. It should make you healthy. It should make you strong, and it should make you love yourself a little bit more and know how to walk in that when you're dealing with men. There's something there about when you love yourself, love comes. Thanks, Denai.
You bet, love.
All right, ladies, come on. Let's give a hand clap to Denai. Let's give a hand clap to Denai. Thank you so much. That was rich, indeed. That was rich. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was the truth, as the young folk would say.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Also want to give a special shout out and thank you to all the MMH elders that work behind the scenes. Junie, that's not with us today. Tega, Ophi, who took the notes, Marsha, Jocelyn, Mary, Donna, Ann, Dill, Dea, and Karen. So thank you so much for all the MMH elders. This is a group effort, a tribe effort. So thank you so much to all the ladies. Next month, we're back again the first Saturday in August, which is August 6th, which is also a national holiday. It is the birthday of our one and only Dr. Michelle McKinney Hammond. So please join us next month for our MMH Hangout, where we will have our guest, Dr. Jamal Bryant. He is an author and he's the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta. The theme will be post-pandemic relationships, how to relate and navigate. It's going to be fire. If you guys have heard Dr. Jamal Bryant speak before, you already know what he's going to bring to the table. So, even though the world's opened up back up again, we really appreciate you guys taking out the time out of your busy schedule. Like I remember, a couple years ago when MMH started, we were just all stuck in the house and quarantined and in the house and, didn't have anything else to do. And so MMH Hangout was birthed out of like that place of us all being, in the house alone. And it's grown and we've touched so many lives and been able to hear from so many guest speakers that have been incredible and enriching. And so thank you for joining us today and taking a little bit of your Saturday to be with us. Now, it takes resources to have MMH on this platform and all the things that we're able to do. So we ask that you give generously. Last week, we sent out a letter for people to give donations for an upcoming big birthday trip that Michelle is taking to Israel. And that deadline went ahead and passed and stuff. So we're asking you to, if you want to still give to Michelle's birthday fund, you can still do that. But we have a really urgent need, which is for the village, this particular village to get a borehole for fresh water, and $1,500 is needed in order for them to get that. So if you want to give towards that, please label your giving for that. You can label it borehole so that we know to direct the funds for that. So you can give through all the available networks with Cash App, with Zelle, with PayPal. You see them all on your screen, or you can click the direct donate button on Michelle's website. So in case you didn't know, Michelle has a music ministry. So if you want to be able to give to that, you know, she's always really appreciative of that. And you could just know Relevance. That's the name of her music ministry. Your support for the worship and mentorship ministry is really, really appreciative. All right. Last but not least, you know, we're always prayerful for all of you ladies. So if you have a need for prayer, please leave your prayer requests now in the chat. Go ahead and leave your prayer requests in the chat. The elders are going to pray over them when we are done here. And we'll make sure that we'll see you next session. August 6th. Yes, what did I forget?
You didn't forget anything. I just wanted to reiterate about the giving with a short story that happened this evening.
Okay,
I will take us. I'm not camera ready. That's why my video is turned off. So we were at home trying to get ready for today, and Dr. Michelle goes, "Oh, I think I'm just gonna divert all my birthday gifts for the borehole in the village." I was like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, I mean, let's just give it to the village." I was like, "Wow, you're really a nice person. You're going to give your birthday money to borehole people that already got money?" She's like, "Yeah, I mean, they need to finish it. So I'm just going to give them my birthday money." I was like, "Really? So kind." That's not what most of us will do. So I just wanted to encourage you guys to give to the village. They were able to set up the borehole. It's a village in the northern part of Ghana, and there's no clean water there. So they've taken up the project to build a borehole for them, and they just need how much do they need left to finish it?
They need
$1,500.
$1,500. What happened was they contacted me and asked about it, and someone had also just contacted me and said they were doing a borehole project, how much would be needed. And the guy did not, he sent me what they needed, but he forgot certain things that needed to happen in order to complete the project. And it ended up leaving a balance. I was able to collect the money for the first part of what they were doing, but they need like $1,500 to finish it. And that's not a lot. We can all do that. If we pull together. It's important, you know, clean drinking water. Otherwise they're drinking, you know, like when the rain falls and scooping it up, and I can't know about these things and not address them. So the deadline passed for my trip. So any money that I got before that, I am going to roll over to the borehole. And I would really appreciate it if you would bless this village. He was so sad because I said, "Well, I'm sorry, the budget is done and depleted." And he was like, "We really need help to finish it. So if you can do that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you."
Yeah, so please give to the borehole people, because a very, very nice, kind woman decided to give her birthday money to do that. Thank you. Over to you, Millie.
Only our own Dr. Michelle. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much. So we'll see you back here next month, August 6th, which again is Dr. Michelle's milestone birthday. So thank you so much. All right, you guys have a great rest of the day.
Wait. I would love to have Amaka pray for us. Amaka,
Okay.
Are you still there?
Yes, I see her. You can
Hello?
Yes. If you could pray us out, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
And then we'll see you all back here. And you know, Dr. Jamal is going to blow us out the water, okay? So make sure you let your friends know and get registered, because I'm going to limit how many people can attend that session. So make sure that you are registered, okay? Amaka.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This was amazing, honestly. Father in heaven, we just thank you for this amazing session, the things we've learned, the things you've spoken through this amazing women, this amazing woman, Father, we just thank you. Lord, I ask that everything we've learned today, that it dwell richly in our hearts, that these words of wisdom that have proceeded, I don't know about anybody else, but they've sat so well in my heart, Father, Lord, that this will revolutionize relationships, revolutionize marriages, Father Lord, so that marriages will be as you have ordained, relationships will be as you have ordained them to be, even before the foundations of the earth. Father Lord, I ask that you bless every single one of my sisters here, and especially my big sister, Michelle, who has made so much impact in this area. Father, personally, I want to thank you for this session, and thank you for what you've deposited in the hearts of all of us. May it dwell richly. May others draw sustenance from it, Father, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. This was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much. I'm releasing you until next time. Will elders please stay behind? And Sheila and Denai, if you would also stay behind. Good night, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Or good afternoon for a lot of you. See you.